So it has been 50,000 miles since I've owned my 2019 Mustang GT, and I've got this folder full of receipt with the maintenance, oil change, brakes, and tires. So let's talk about how much I've spent on my 2019 Mustang GT in 50,000 miles I've owned it. As you can see, it's currently sitting at 54,027 miles. And I've owned this car for about 6 years now, close to 6 years, 5.5 years or so. So we're gonna talk about everything I've had to spend on this 2019 Mustang GT. Just a real quick about the car, this is a non-performance pack car. It's a premium 401A car, as you saw from the digital dash. And we're gonna talk about everything I've had to spend on this car, from basically oil changes to brakes, the tires. I'm gonna exclude mods from this video because this video is really for if you have a stock Mustang GT, how much are you gonna really spend in maintaining a vehicle like this? I've done about 10 oil changes so far. I've also changed the brakes and the tires, and I've had to take the car into the dealership 3 times to get stuff fixed. So we're gonna break this down, how much I've spent for each visit, and has the car been reliable? I've done a similar video where I talk about the 5-year ownership review of the Mustang. In that one, I actually break down the mods and what my thought process was in terms of picking all these mods. But this one, I really want to tackle it from the maintenance, the owner's perspective on the maintenance and the reliability of this vehicle. But yeah, with that being said, let's dive right into the video. All right, so let's talk about the oil changes. Now, because obviously I bought this car brand new, I wanted to make sure the warranty was not going to be an issue. So all of my oil changes, believe it or not, were done at the dealership, except the last one because I was out of the warranty period. So first 9 oil changes I did on my 2019 Mustang GT, it cost me around $160 per oil change at the dealership. Now I know you guys are probably thinking it is very expensive, and I do agree with you, but I wanted to make sure that there was no warranty issues, so I stuck with the dealership until the warranty was over. So although oil changes, I pretty much get them done about, I want to say 5,000 miles. And with the dealership, they would do a synthetic blend motorcraft oil, so all OEM stuff that I would get from the dealership. So on $160 per oil change comes out to be about $1,440, which is not too bad. Of course, it is on the expensive side, but we're talking about 9 oil changes, not just a couple oil changes. 9 oil changes for about $1,440. So let's round it down to. And then the last oil change I had was basically done. I bought the oil myself, so I went with Mobil 1 full synthetic oil, 10 quarts of oil, of course, and OEM Motorcraft filter, and I paid the guy about 20 bucks or so. So I want to say my cost for all 10 oil changes is right around $1,500, because the last oil change I did with the shop, $80 or so, all said and done. So just to kind of round it up, about $1,500 were spent on the oil changes for the car, which honestly is not all that bad, considering that this car takes 10 quarts of oil. And I also did synthetic oil just to be on the safe side, but that is not required. You can get away with the synthetic blend. In my opinion, the cost difference just wasn't enough to justify going with synthetic blend when I can do synthetic oil change. Now we're gonna also talk about the 3 instances where I've had to take this car into the dealership for having some work done while the car was within warranty and also outside of warranty. So we're gonna get into that, but let's talk about some more maintenance stuff, and then we're gonna talk about reliability as well. So the next maintenance item is going to be the brakes that I changed. I want to say around 50,000 miles or so. I had the OEM brakes, non-performance pack, so no Brembos or anything, but I went ahead with the PowerStop Z26 brakes. As you can see, it's got the drilled and slotted rotors, which look really nice. In terms of braking power as well, it is pretty good, no complaints here. And I think if you're gonna track it, you could probably go with a Brembo setup or something more aggressive, but these are pretty much like OEM. I have no complaints with these. The brakes themselves were around $300, and I paid about $150 to get these brakes installed. So overall, $450 for a brake for a 460 horsepower car. That is not bad at all. We're talking about 460 horsepower car with the brakes being replaced for around less than $500. Of course, if you have Brembos, you're gonna pay a lot more, but this is a non-Brembo package, so you don't pay that much. And in my opinion, getting the PowerStop Z26, even the OEM was gonna be around the same price, but I wanted the drill rotor look, and that's why I went ahead with the PowerStop. So about $500 for the brake change. So if you're really putting stuff together, $1,500 for the oil changes, $500 for the brakes, so we're up about $2,000, but that is 50,000 miles. I've owned it almost 5+ years, so that is actually not bad maintaining a car like that. If you had a BMW M, which would be comparable performance, it would be a lot more expensive than this Mustang. As you can probably tell that I have some wider tires as well and change of wheels. So you can see I went ahead with the Michelin Pilot Sport 285/35/19 in the back, and same thing on the front, 285/35/19. So it's a square setup that I went with so I can easily rotate the tires to bring the cost a little bit down. I'm gonna go ahead and give you the price of the tires, but it's gonna be obviously a little bit more than what you would pay if you went ahead with the OEM. I had the 255/40/19 with the black accent package, but this one, I wanna say the tires around were close to $1,400 as well. Now it is kind of up there, but that is only because you are going with a lot wider tires than you would get if you were to go ahead with just the stock 255 tires. Now 255s, even if you wanted to upgrade to Michelin Pilot Sport 4S, these are the all-season ones, you would still end up paying close to $800. So it'd be still 50% than what I paid for. But if you wanted to upgrade, I highly recommend it because that actually makes the car a lot more fun to drive than going ahead with the skinny 255 tires on this Mustang. From cost perspective, let's just keep it at the 255s. If you wanted to just upgrade it to the regular 255s and not these 285s, you're gonna end up paying close to $800 for the change, which means if you add it up, $2,000 plus 800, we're at $2,800, which is still not pretty bad considering I've owned this car for over 5 years and 50,000 miles on this car. Now the tires were changed right around 35,000 miles or so, and these tires have had pretty much 20,000 miles. I've been very impressed with these tires. I've taken them to the drag strip. It's been 20,000 miles. They're still holding up very well. So I definitely recommend the Michelin Pilot Sport, and these are just the all season. You could get the summer tires as well, but these hold up really nice, and I would probably say this one still got another 10 to 15,000 miles based on the tread left, and I've had a lot of drag strip runs, so this is not just commuting. I'm pretty impressed with these tires, so if you're keeping up with the total, it's gonna be $2,800 so far. Tires, brakes, and the oil. Now let's talk about some of the reliability concerns. Unfortunately, I've had to take this car into the dealership 3 times, like I mentioned. First 2 times were for the 10-speed transmission. We know the 10-speed transmission a little bit quirky. It's a little bit, it has a mind of its own. So first time I had to take this in was around 5,000 miles in, and then I took it in when it had about 30,000 miles or 28,000 miles, something like that. Now, luckily, those were covered under warranty, and I had no issues with that. So they covered it. They had to update the software. But if you are getting a used one where you're over 60,000 or 5-year mark, you're gonna have to pay for the software update, and those could run you about $500. So I didn't have to worry about that because those were covered under warranty. So for me, it's still free. But if you're getting a used Mustang with the 10-speed transmission, really make sure it's working properly so you don't have any issues. Now let's talk about the third visit I had with the dealership, and that was out of the warranty for catalytic converter. I had a code of P0430 that was kind of on and off. It would just come in, goes in after a couple hundred miles, and it would come back on. Really kind of concerning, and I drove the car like that for a few months. Eventually, I returned the car back to stock. So yes, the car was tuned. I spoke to the dealer because I was like, I don't want to pay out of pocket for that. But luckily, there's a federal warranty, emissions warranty for 8 years and 80,000 miles, where it would cover your catalytic converter or any of the emissions-related equipment. So I got lucky there. Even though the car was tuned, it has seen a lot of drag strip runs. It was covered for free under the federal emission warranty. So Ford was able to cover all of that. I did not have to pay anything for that. So 3 issues I've had with this car, luckily, have been covered from the factory warranty, and not pay any single penny for those. Now, of course, if I had to pay for any of those items, it would have cost a lot. Like I said, the transmissions were around $500 or so for the software updates, and even the catalytic converter, if I went OEM, which I would have done, would probably cost me close to $1,000, if not more, to get everything in order. But luckily, Ford covered it under warranty, so I did not pay anything. So for reliability-wise, the car has been pretty reliable. The only real issue I've had, because 10-speed is pretty well documented that it has a mind of its own, and I didn't really need to get it fixed, but I was like, it's under warranty, I don't have to pay for it, so might as well just get the software update. But the only real issue I've had with this was basically the catalytic converter. So if that was out of warranty, I would have had to pay for it. Other than that, it's been pretty good, pretty reliable. I have no reservations driving this car. for 10 plus hours and taking a long road trip, and just it's been a dream driving this car. It's been very good. And as you know, like the cost of maintaining it has been relatively low considering the type of car it is. We got the oil changes, we got the brakes and the tires. Nothing too extreme where you're kind of having issues with, where you're like almost afraid to drive it daily because you're like, I don't want to incur the cost of the oil change. It's gonna be $500, or the brakes are gonna worn out in like 10,000 miles or so. The brakes lasted me pretty much 50,000 miles. That's when I changed them. Tires lasted me about 35,000 miles. So the consumables aren't too bad. They're not too expensive, and they last a long time in this car. And reliability wise, it's been pretty good. I've had no complaints with this car. I absolutely love this car. We've done some mods on this. We want to talk about doing some E85s or going with a supercharging route. But all of that has been pretty good. So if you have been keeping up the tally, for maintenance wise, I've had to spend, let's just round it up to like $3,000 in almost 6 years I've owned this car, and 50,000 plus miles, which in my opinion, for the type of performance you're getting, the drag strip runs I've done, it's just such a fun car to drive. And just paying $3,000 over 6 years, let's say about $500 a year, is very cheap, like extremely cheap, to have that kind of performance from this 5.0 and the 10-speed, and pretty much pay nothing to really maintain it. And like I said, the reliability has been pretty good too. It's been, knock on wood, but it's been pretty good. Like I've had no issues. I know a lot of people who have high mileage Coyotes, even boosted Coyotes, with no issues whatsoever. So I can fully trust this car to last me at least 100,000 miles, if not more, even the way I drive it with the drag strip runs and track runs and all of that stuff. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video on the 50,000 mile review on my 2019 Mustang GT. It's been a great ownership experience owning this car, which I kind of knew getting into it, and part of the reason I wanted to get a Mustang over some of the German competitors. While they might be fast, they have the all-wheel drive and tuning potential, just the reliability aspect is just missing from that. So that's one thing I can definitely rely with this Mustang on. So I hope you enjoyed today's video of the 50,000 miles ownership review, and if you did, make sure you smash this like button and comment below how many miles do you have on your Mustang, and subscribe to Red 50 for more videos.